Ceremonial grade matcha is a term that means different things for different people. In this video, we're going to get to the bottom of ceremonial grade matcha and see what the true definition is. We'll also take a look at how it differs from other types of matcha. Let's get started. So let's just start off with the definition of ceremonial grade matcha. Technically, there isn't one. Ceremonial grade matcha doesn't have a legal definition, but it's more of a stated use case of a particular matcha. This is where things get a bit philosophical. If I say a matcha is ceremonial grade, I'm saying that it's intended for ceremonial use. That means that you should drink it plain, mixed into water with a bamboo whisk or chasen. If you added milk or sugar to this tea, it would be a waste of a high quality matcha. If I say a matcha is latte grade, that means that you're meant to mix the tea into milk and sugar and drink it as a matcha latte. If you were to sell latte grade matcha as ceremonial grade matcha, it wouldn't do very well. Without the addition of milk and sugar, this matcha would be extremely bitter. So now you can already see that even though there is no legal definition, it's important to categorize matcha by its intended use. A matcha that works very well in lattes might not work so well in tea ceremonies, and vice versa. In the next section, we'll talk about how high quality ceremonial grade matcha is produced and why it matters. So how is ceremonial grade matcha made? If a matcha is being used for a tea ceremony, a long and labor-intensive production process goes into making it taste smooth enough to drink plain. We're going to cover a few of the basic steps used to make premium ceremonial grade matcha. So first let's talk about the harvest. When we talk about ceremonial grade matcha at Neo, we refer to the first harvest matcha. The tea plant can be harvested for up to 4 times throughout the year, but the first harvest will be the highest in nutrients. Next, the tea plants are shaded for 3 weeks before the harvest in order to develop a smoother and sweeter flavor. This is because if the tea plant were to be exposed to sunlight, it would produce more bitter catechins and less sweet and savory theanine. When the first harvest comes around in the early to mid-spring, the tea leaves are harvested, but only the top 3 sprouts are selected. These are the highest in nutrients and the smoothest in flavor, so they're the most sought after for premium teas like matcha. The processing of the leaves used to make premium matcha grades is very similar to any other Japanese green tea with 2 exceptions. The first is the removal of the stems, which would detract from the flavor, and the second is the grinding of the leaves in a stone mill. This large mill is made out of granite, and it has a big network of grooves that push the leaves out as they are ground into a finer and finer powder. It takes this mill an hour just to produce 50 grams of this precious powder. All this hard work is worth it, as the premium ceremonial grade matcha is smooth enough to drink plain. If any of these steps are skipped, you end up with more of a bitter matcha that would be distasteful if you were to drink it plain without milk or sugar. So how can you tell if a matcha is ceremonial grade? As we mentioned before, there is no exact definition of ceremonial grade matcha. But if you want to learn how to distinguish high quality matcha from low quality matcha, one of the things you can do is look at the color. If it's a vibrant shade of green, you probably have a good matcha, and if it's more brown or yellow in color, chances are you either have an old matcha or a lower quality matcha. Of course, the color isn't a perfect indication, as there is variability even within premium matchas, with some cultivars being darker green and others being lighter green. But you get the idea. What about the foam of a ceremonial grade matcha? Another test that works slightly better than the color test is the foam test. Higher quality matcha teas are richer in amino acids, so they should foam up much easier and form a denser layer of bubbles. To test the foam, just sift in 2 grams of matcha powder, pour in 100 milliliters of warm water, and whisk the tea up with a bamboo whisk. After a few seconds of proper whisking, a dense foam should start to appear on the top of the matcha. If instead you see very few bubbles forming, you might have a low quality matcha. Finally, the flavor of a ceremonial grade matcha. The last and best test of a matcha quality is the flavor. A premium ceremonial grade matcha should be smooth, without much bitterness. You don't know for sure whether or not you have a good matcha until you actually taste it. If you really want to test the matcha, you can prepare it as a koicha, using double the amount of powder and half the amount of water. This amplifies the flavor of the tea, and if there's any bitterness at all, you'll be able to notice it. Koicha, or thick matcha, is used during special tea ceremonies, and it can only be made from the best matchas, like the matcha washimine from Kyoto. This ceremonial grade matcha comes from the Okumidori cultivar, and it's smooth enough to drink as a koicha. So thank you all so much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope it answered some of your questions. If you like this video, a good way to support our YouTube channel is by liking it and subscribing to our channel to see more tea videos in the future. We would also really appreciate it if you could go to our website neoteas.com and shop for some teas and teaware. After traveling around Japan for the past few years, we've met with dozens of different farmers and sampled hundreds of different types of Japanese green teas. We've selected just a small handful of our favorites, and we're happy to share them with all of you, with free worldwide shipping. Try some out for yourself and let us know what you think. Also, if you have any questions about matcha or green tea in general, please feel free to leave those in the comments below. Until then, we'll see you next time.